don't know. Was it the Elmo theme song? I forgot. I don't know. It was just very instinctual to sing SpongeBob, I suppose. Uh, yes, but for those of you that have seen that it is my birthday live stream, just so you know, it is technically not my birthday. It's in 2 days. But this is the stream closest to it, and I shall be celebrating my birthday with this live stream. Because my life is a wreck, and I can't celebrate anywhere else, more or less. Except for Washington, D.C., where I will be. Oh my god. And it's a good excuse to ask. And maybe you guys can ask things about me. That's not about narcissism. Get to know me. Get to know me and not my narcissism. Me outside, Jacob outside the context of narcissism. Thank you very much, Dan. Thank you, Catherine. What's in DC? I have a friend who's bipolar and she's manic right now, and she wants to go to DC, so I'm going with her. Oh my god. Thank you, Yeehaw. DC and DJ. Freddie. Wait, is today Father's Day? If so, nobody told me if it's Father's Day. Nah, okay, but yeah, like, even if it is Father's Day today, 2 days is my birthday. This is just the stream celebrating my birthday, more or less. Anyways, thank you, Buzzy B. And the Lure of the Flies, thank you. Christine, okay, Christine, thank you for making me not panic. I was afraid my dad was going to get even more mad at me and disinherit me or something. Thank you very much, Linda. And Yeehaw, I think I thanked you. I'm not sure though. Wait, next Sunday is after is it my sister's? I think my sister's baby shower. Oh no, the baby shower's in 2 weeks. Never mind. Never mind. My BF's name is Jacob. I'm covert narcissist and borderline, going through some depression and other stuff. So we're always going through that stuff, right? Us cluster Bs, it's always just like depression all the time. But I'm sorry to hear that. I hope things get better. My main kneeling bitch, thank you. Okay, it's all just been a happy birthday so far, so I don't know what to talk about, and I'm stressing out. People won't get boring. I love Geminis. I hate Geminis, including myself. I was just putting things off. I've just been like I've just been a real mess lately. My God. You into cars at all? Honestly, Freddie, no, not at all. Like I find how it I find like how an internal combustion engine works kind of interesting. I don't really understand it very well, but that's like that is the limit of the interest that cars have to me. I do not care about like models of cars or anything like that. I never have. People are like, oh my god, it's such a cool car. And I'm like, I had a friend in college who was Austrian, and he had this Mustang that I was so embarrassed whenever I got into the car with him because he would just like rev the thing like really loud. I felt like everyone was staring at us. And then he got the opposite of a muffler that like made it louder. And it was sad. I didn't like it. No, not all Geminis, Christine. I was mainly just talking about myself. Thanks so much for to explain things. Thanks for all your work. Thank you. I try my best. I try to keep it real around here, as real as I can be. Cluster Bs unite. What's your favorite thing to do on your B-day? Drink, mainly. I don't know. Like, I haven't really done anything fun for my birthday for a few years. I did have a couple years in a row where Seth threw me a surprise birthday party, like, consistently, which it became every time it got spoiled for me. Like, it never ended up being an actual surprise birthday party, but those were always fun. Dude, I said hi to you, or thank you, or something. Is my microphone still shit? If it is, I'll go get my headphones. I would have loved a surprise party if it would have worked. But it didn't. They suck. Hi, Nicole. I'm celebrating my birthday right now. I sound normal? Okay, so it was just Freddie. Good. Hey, KFK, thank you. Okay, because I was getting so stressed about that because I was like, I can't have my microphone be fucked up. I can't. Thank you, Ma. Part of your microphone is going deaf. Huh, that's weird. How old are you now? I'm about to be 24. The big 2-4. I don't know why I said big 2-4. There's nothing very special. After the age of 21, I've just dreaded every birthday. I mean, I've dreaded every fucking birthday forever, in fairness. Do you need a moderator? Because I am one. DM me about it, maybe. Because, I mean, I have a couple mods already. But, like, the bigger my stuff get, the more I'm like, oh, man, maybe I do need more people. Who knows? APD questions, thank you. And thank you, Nicole. How about gifts? What are your thoughts on receiving gifts? Also say, okay, I love receiving gifts because, I love free shit. Like, can they just give me the gift, though, and not watch me open it? I don't want them to see how I react to it. It's so awkward. Like, I don't know, like, ever what to do. And, like, especially since I'm, like, never, like, excited about, like, anything. Right? Well, okay, I'm excited about a lot of things. But when it comes to, like, material possessions, I'm basically never excited. So I'm like, can I just, and I can appreciate a gift, right? But it's weird to express that gratitude. It just feels weird. I don't know why. Thank you, Kays. Thank you, AV. Drop a P.O. box address. Oh, man. I need a P.O. box. That'd be cool. I see Sarah get, like, cards and shit. And that was, like, great. Your birthday gift for me this year is my friendship. You're welcome. Yeah, you actually have to pay a subscription for Nicole's friendship. It's really strange. In high school, it was really awkward, too. What was the party when I was in my 20s and I got my 30s and exchange? So that was my favorite time of my life. Really? Your 30s were your favorite time of your life? Thank you, Mercy. But yeah, I saw Cluster B Milkshake with her P.O. box, like, getting, like, letters and stuff, and she had, like, her like, wall, like, it was, like, preschool or something. It was like she had, like, a fridge that she was putting her kids' artwork on. I loved it. I want that so bad. I'd fucking put up some shit back here. That'd be quality, though. I know, I mean, I don't know if they want me to say who they are, but there's somebody who's actually here right now who made, like, some really good artwork of me once, and I would definitely put that up back there. That'd be cool as hell. I look edgy as hell in it, though. July 2022 was the best month of my life. What happened then, Freddie? Was that when you got arrested? Or am I completely misremembering when that was? Yes. Your furries have been your favorite so far. That's so wild because I always kind of, like, as a younger person, I guess I always kind of assume, like, you can ask questions. I want to keep it more lighthearted, but I'll answer. And I might not go into as much detail as I normally would, but, like, I'm still. This is still a channel about narcissism. I feel like I should still talk about that. But yeah, like, as a younger person, I'm always like, oh, my 30s are over. My 30s are over when my life is over. I don't know what to do. More, I meant yours. God. If you want to see Mars drawing of me, I'm pretty sure I have it on my Instagram, like, under my, like, stories. You got arrested next month. July was when I had my spiritual awakening. Is that code for you were just tripping balls for a long time? You know, where is Karen? I haven't seen Karen in a while. She's not showing up for my birthday party. Hey, Ruth, thank you. And also, thank you saying, I'm doing my best over here. Hey, Mark can dissolve herself in acid if she wants. This is a free country. Wait, she doesn't live in America. Never mind. I was thinking today about how like Ohio, how because of like Ohio memes, Ohio has become like a fantasy esque Florida man kind of thing, and I love living in Ohio purely for that reason. Thank you, April. Doing some spiritual ritual Harry Potter stuff with demons. Good on you, Freddie. I got you. One question. Now that I really found out about Narcissist, I need to know if there's anything I do to decrease the craziness if I can't get out of the relationship. I always recommend this book off the bat. Disarming the Narcissist by Wendy T. Berry. She specifically wrote it to be able to have like more fulfilling relationships with people who are narcissists, right? I've heard very, very good, like the people I recommended it to have said very, very good things. And I'm not promising any miracle work with it, right? But you know, when you are interacting with someone with personality disorder that doesn't know they have a personality disorder, you're basically interacting with somebody who is in their own world. They're literally perceiving things differently. Aw, thank you, Gray Lizard. Running out of money, me too. But like, basically, you were in a situation where you're perceiving basically everything differently, and it's hard to interact with somebody who doesn't understand they're seeing anything differently. I think your best advantage that you have when interacting with someone with personality disorder is that you can understand that you probably won't understand them, right? You're not always going to completely get what the hell they mean, but it is their reality to them, if that makes sense. Thank you, Emmy. KFK, you don't want to get to Ohio anymore? I didn't say that. I love being from Ohio, and once I leave Ohio, I will spread terrible, terrible rumors about it. I will say that we do have a Raven Queen. I'm trying to think of the most realistic Ohio, like, I guess some things that happen in Ohio, though, I don't know. That could literally, I remember once, like, me and my buddy would go on a walk, and, like, we would just see, like, a militia training in the park. I think we do have a giant field of, like, corn statues. Christine, what are the rules? Sounds good, Darville. Thank you very much. Jake, I brought my tarot cards home with me. Should I do a birthday reading for you? Oh, we can live stream that. Or just make a general video about it. Oh, that'd be funny. Is it normal to forget family or friends' birthdays? Dude, I don't know if it's normal, quote unquote. I do not remember. I remember like 3 birthdays. I remember my friend Isaac's, my sister's, and mine. And Seth's. I think I remember Seth's. Maybe. Nicole, is Seth's birthday on January 28th? Might be. I also, and like, and other than that, I just like know some months that I have friends and family members who have their birthdays in that general vicinity. Then I know like 3 dates, the 10th, the 25th, and the 28th, that a bunch of birthdays fall on. And I know nothing other than that. Hey, you give me hope for my mom. Aww. I don't want to get. I just see that I have such mixed feelings about that because like I am like such a person who truly believes anybody can change under the right circumstances if they try. Right? At the same time, it's like I don't want people to like cling on to an unfounded hope that somebody will change if they aren't showing change. Because like for me, like I feel like it would have been reasonable to like have hope for my change even when I was younger because I was constantly trying to self-reflect and understand how I thought and why what I thought wasn't healthy, even if I didn't understand my personality disorder. But it's like I don't know. I like it's so bittersweet, I guess. Christine, do you have any rules other than that? Because it's hilarious if you just have one. Oh, thank you, DC. That's very nice of you. Oh man. Oh, it is. Okay, wait. I was right about Seth's. Okay, good. I know a single birthday. Go me. Hey, Tiffany. See, it's okay. Technically, it's not my birthday. I'm celebrating my birthday today. My birthday is actually on the 13th. Maybe I shouldn't tell my birthday. Also, my social security number and my mother's maiden name is 10 pounds heavier. That was a terrible joke. Hey, MCMJ. Thank you. Thank you. I thought it was totally narcissistic in a mean way. So am I. So is my sister. See, okay, here's an interesting thing. Like my Nicole, that seems like so. My sister, like, if I say that all cluster Bs are kind of narcissistic, do you get what I mean? And I'm not saying narcissistic as in like, oh, like pathological narcissism. I think about it as like all cluster Bs are narcissistic in terms of like they have a big degree of like self-focused thought patterns or selfish like behaviors. And not to say that they're always malicious, right? I would say 90% of the time they're not. But like I can see how people would associate a lot of just cluster B in general with like narcissistic behavior or what they would assume to be narcissistic. Like, because again, like I make such a big distinction between like, oh, narcissistic traits in individuals and then pathological narcissism, because I feel like there's I feel like there's barely any overlap, honestly, in a lot of ways. Thank you, Rocky. Nicole, is it September? It's August or September. I want to say. Narcissist tried to make me jealous. I unfollowed him. Fucking power move. Love it. Close pizza, it will have cognitive empathy. It's interesting. I actually read I was actually reading a study about empathy in NPD recently, and like it said that it was interesting because in self-report measures, people with significant grandiose narcissistic traits, they said that they admitted that they had bad cognitive and affective empathy. But then the study only showed they lacked the affective empathy, which I think is really interesting, is that like these narcissists, they think that they have bad cognitive empathy. I really want to know why it is. Like from my perspective, I can kind of see it, right? I look at people and I'm like, why the fuck do they act like that? That's weird. Like you are not making any sense, right? Or I'm just aware of that, like I don't care about people, whatever. But I did find it really interesting. I like your channel, man. ASPD. Hey, cluster buddy, let's go. I think cluster B is kind of like a pie chart. You get percentage of each PD within the cluster, some more than others. I think that's honestly a pretty good way to put it, with varying levels of like severity between all of those, right? Because I mean, but like I guess that's not quite what I'm saying, because I would say like even somebody with HPD with like that's a bad example. Like I would say that there's something inherently self-focused about some of the regulatory patterns that people with BPD pursue, and about kind of the lack of sensitivity that people with ASPD do. You know what I mean? There's like an inherent selfishness to it. It's kind of weird for me to like. I'm having a really hard time articulating it. Yeah, I would love to be in a rage room when drunk. God, they wouldn't let me do that. Okay, very bold of you, Nicole, to assume that I know when any of the zodiac signs are in terms of like months. Hey V, what's going on? I'm sure by one psychiatrist. That's nice. You got me where I am today, back to normal. The here's a cookie and present. Thank you. I'm definitely borderline one pissed off. I think about SPD traits. Okay. wild theory. I honestly view factor 2 psychopathy, which is probably the most. So obviously, there's factor 1 psychopathy and factor 2 psychopathy. Factor 1 psychopathy is what you associate with when you think of psychopaths in general, while factor 2 is sociopathy. I do think sociopathy, which is usually what people with ASPD are diagnosed with. I mean, people with, which, I mean, like, it's complicated, but still, factor psychopathy, I honestly think that it's just an extreme behavioral version of borderline personality disorder. Like extreme anger, extreme impulsivity, and the lack of remorse can be. Well, here's the thing. I see borderlines lack remorse a lot of times too. And not always, by the way, but when they think they're right, like they're right. It's kind of that like mindset, like, oh, emotions are more important than facts, sort of thing. And so like my theory is kind of like ASPD is just like extreme borderline personality disorder, and then factor 1 psychopathy, whole other fucking thing. I think factor 1 psychopathy should be a neurological disorder because you don't need trauma for it to come about. You're just kind of born like that, and the behavior between and the behavior between thank you MCMJ yeah, the behavior between a factor 1 psychopath and a cluster B, they don't even resemble each other. Like cluster Bs, I would say often are so fixated on interpersonal relationships. We basically use these to self-regulate all the time. Factor 1 psychopaths don't need that at all. Yeah, I was in a rage room once with my ex and some of her friends. It was, see, the thing is, what made it, like, I enjoyed it, kind of. No, I didn't. I have anhedonia. I don't fucking enjoy anything. But, like, what made it particularly unpleasant was just that, like, they had us dress up in these, like, a bunch of protective stuff, and it was, like, really hot, and I was like, fuck, this sucks. Ah. I broke a lot of stuff, though. I mean, it was entertaining, I would say. Nicole, yours at the end of July? Oh, I confused you for somebody's birthday. I'm not going to say who. So the agree ASPD does appear to be a very activated form of BPD. Thank you, PD questions. I needed that. And especially since like BPD and ASPD actually have the closest disorder to ASPD is BPD. And they have like huge degrees of overlap. I think it's like, I don't know the numbers on that one actually. I wish I did. And then we split us for lines, go to the extreme of the contact plane to get revenge, like remorseful afterwards. The guilt you. I didn't see the rest of that. Hello, Vinny. So I wouldn't say there's any inherent kind of. So, okay. When it comes to like sex and NPD, it gets very convoluted very quickly. There's a lot of presentations. But like, I would say that what you're seeing is more of a expression of a certain degree of entitlement, right? Like he feels entitled to your body and stuff like that, which is a narcissistic trait. Not one, but like that's not a universal presentation of entitlement in NPD, right? Like my entitlement has never really been around like sex or material possessions. Usually it's more around like loyalty and stuff. So I'm sure that can present like that, right? And some people with a trait of high trait empathy will also express it in that way. I wouldn't say it wouldn't be a universal narcissistic behavior though. Thank you, Dirk. Factor 1 psychopathy is kind of similar to narcissism. I would say factor 1 psychopathy is what every narcissist wants to come off as, if I'm being honest. Not every narcissist, but like that is like the ideal self, quote unquote, of like most narcissists, right? Unfeeling, unneeding of anyone, completely independent, is willing to do whatever they need to do, knows that they're better than everybody and believes it. Like, so I would say maybe superficially sometimes, but generally I would say that they aren't I wouldn't say that they're particularly similar at like the I would say at the internal level, they aren't that similar. I do follow their logic though when it comes to a lot of like doing more selfish things or why they're motivated by certain things selfishly. Like a lot of people are like, oh well, like if you don't have morality, if you don't have like a conscience, why don't you just kill people? And like my mind's immediately like, well, because that wouldn't be beneficial to me. Like, and that's what I what I kind of have to say a lot on the channel is that like a lot of people assume that they'll see some more remorseless behavior with narcissists, and they'll be like, oh, it must be a narcissist. I'm like, well, not necessarily. I don't think we're particularly more likely to do things like that unless you have some other shit on top of it. Because anybody with 2 brain cells can be like, it doesn't benefit me to murder. I don't want to go to jail. Also, a fact when psychopaths don't have like such a lowered anxiety response, and narcissists actually have higher like stress hormones than latently than even people with generalized anxiety disorder. Do you think ADHD should be considered the 4th cluster B disorder? Just adding it to the cluster maybe change how we think of cluster B. So, PD, that's kind of interesting because on one hand, if I'm coming at it from like a Machiavellian standpoint, I agree. I think that that would if there is a more accepted disorder that is associated with personality disorders, then yeah, it's not going to be it won't be as stigmatized or as seen as like monstrous, right? It'll be seen as a disorder, not as like that can hurt people, and not just as monsters. But I think that ADHD should be considered more of a symptom of cluster B, or something kind of associated with it. Because the thing is, ADHD doesn't have an environmental component. It's purely neurological. You are born with it, right? That's why you see people like pretty young get diagnosed with ADHD. But that being said, lots of the comorbidity with NPD and BPD with ADHD, like off the charts. And I think that has to do with our sensation seeking, right? I think our personality disorder, the way it messes up our brains, can present with ADHD-like symptoms, if not actual ADHD. And I wouldn't say it would be a symptom purely of cluster B, right? But still, the disorders can lead to a symptom kind of like that. Wait, MCMJ, she's not actually HPD. It's just a joke that we say. Are you a cluster or Judy calling Nicole a normie? I want to call Nicole a normie, but no. See, okay, I do have like a lot because I find it funny to like call non-cluster Bs like normies or like nons or normals or whatever. But at the same time, like I want to be respectful, and so I'm always struggling with like a terminology to use. I think it was John Anderson who proposed the term normally disturbed, and then or just like normal for shorthand, which is kind of what I've kind of defaulted to, just to be kind of not like being a dick. Because some people are like, oh, just say neurotypical. Well, I have 2 issues with that. One, when I thought I was normal, or just not mentally ill, I hated the term neurotypical. It felt very demeaning, and I think a lot of people can relate to that if you are a non-cluster B. That's at least what I've heard. And on the other hand, the people in the neurodivergency movement are primarily people with autism, OCD, and ADHD, and a lot of them, they're very gatekeepy about personality disorders. And I don't really like encouraging it, since one, they're telling my cluster buddies to fuck off, like, fuck you, I hate you guys. And also, I feel like there's a toxic element in those communities where they try to, and I get trying to normalize mental illness to a certain degree, right? But it always feels like they kind of go overboard, where they're like, excusing behavior because it's mentally ill stuff. Saying that this isn't a problem because it's a mental illness. It's like, yes, I get it. You can't help being mentally ill. Just saying that it's not a mental illness. It's like, okay, listen, this does impair your functioning. ADHD impairs your functioning. Autism, oftentimes, I would say depending on the level of it, but oftentimes impairs your functioning. OCD definitely impairs your functioning. I see that all the time because of my dad. Well, I used to see it all the time because of my dad. So I don't like being like, no, these are not, I would say it's like I don't like them being like, no, these are not like problems. I think there's a lot of toxicity in that movement, which is why I try to distance myself from the terminology as well. And also, they don't include us. Ugh. Let me into your club. Joking. Have you seriously considered writing a book? If you haven't gotten serious about it, you definitely should. Self-publishing is easier than before, thanks to Amazon. Seriously, you're a rare gem. Aw, thank you. I have thought about writing a book. It would mainly be about, it would be like kind of like, because like my idea for it was I want it to be autobiographical, but written in like kind of dramatically, not like embellishing truth, just like very intensely. And like the purpose of that is I kind of want to be able to portray to people how even these benign things feel so intense for a cluster B person. Like everything feels so much all the time. And like people view us as dramatic, sure. Like from the outside, I can see how it looks like that. But at the same time, like it's a very real sensation to us, and I think it'd be very helpful for everybody involved to be able to sympathize kind of with that sentiment of everything is so much in your face all the time. I wrote a little bit of a book. I've been on a hiatus towards it just because of personal stuff. I'm not, but like it's not something I've given up on at all. I don't speak English, but I like your channel. Oh, I sympathize a lot with you learning English. That's cool. That's really cool, actually. Someone's using my channel to learn English. That's fucking awesome. I'm not sure if I'm a good place to do that, though, just because I speak very fast. Other than that, ask about that because I'm asexual. He knows that. I would say I'm not in a mood. First, we kept pushing guilt treatment, so I gave him to shut up about it. Well, I think there's an underlying issue there. I think there might be I think there may be an intrinsic incompatibility there. Like, I think it's something to also think about. But yeah, I mean, again, that like entitlement can definitely play a hand in that. But also, it's like, I don't know. I just, like, I'll be honest, I've never seen a relationship between someone who's asexual and somebody who's not work. You know? If you write comment and send me a hello, I can't pronounce your name, but hello, Brazil. Why would narcissists make jokes about something they admitted to like? Is there a way of showing love or coming from a malicious place bringing that person down? I would need an example, but so I'm thinking about the hierarchy, right? There's a lot of traits that I find endearing in people and that I do like a certain degree of innocence or like kind-heartedness or whatever. That at the same time I can kind of not respect, if that makes sense. Like, how do I put it? Like if like I can have a lot of admiration for somebody. Oh no, I can have like a lot of fondness for somebody who I view as like very kind and generous. I can also think that's a stupid way to go about life. So it can be honestly, it's probably a combination. Oh hi MCCM, thank you. It can also be a combination of two, right? I can be simultaneously kind of looking down on that while also just trying to poke fun and try to connect at that level. It can be, because I do make fun of people in an affectionate way sometimes, but it's just, it varies. Okay, now what somebody else knows about this bother. Okay, so for me, yes. It's really strange that when people like, I will get out of a relationship and I'll still be jealous. Like, because in a relationship, I'm usually not jealous. When I feel like, you know, they're like, I'm like, oh, you're with me. That means that like I got nothing to fucking worry about. I'm the best whoever I want to do. But like when they're out of a relationship, it always like bothers me a little bit. I'm not exactly sure what the emotion is. I'm assuming it's jealousy. When I see them moving on, it feels almost disrespectful. I think it's a hit to my ego that somebody can move on from me, if that makes sense. I'm not sure though. It's something I need to think about more. Can you love? What kind of love are you able to experience? I don't know. I can like I always say, I can never fully compare your internal experience and mine. I don't know if how I love is the same as how anybody else does. That being said, I do feel like I love. I definitely feel infatuation. I do definitely become obsessed with people sometimes. But then I look at my actions towards the people I allegedly love, and it can be very fleeting, very on and off, very extremes. Like I purposefully sometimes like separate myself from people that I'm infatuated with because I'm so afraid of getting to this point that I feel threatened by that vulnerability, and like it's just all gone. Like I just get annoyed by everything they do. Um, I would say that I do love in my own way, but it's very complicated, and a lot of my defenses work against it a lot of the times. But then again, like, what's more? But like, when people ask this, I always do also want to ask, okay, what's the motivation for asking this, right? Because if somebody isn't treating you lovingly, that's more important than if they do love you or not. I think the thing I'm cluster B, but not sure of any of the four. Any advice? Well, the obvious advice. I'm sure you've already thought of this. Find a therapist, right? And also, you have to understand that, like, it's more, like, aside from the label, it's more important to identify the toxic behaviors and work on those, or the behaviors that are impacting your life in a negative way, than to find a label that fully encapsulates who you are. There are a lot of people, actually, who are, like, PDNOS, which means personality disorder not otherwise specified. And they're saying, like, oh, you're, like, in the cluster B area, but your traits are so all over the place that we can't see one that's, like, for sure. And so it's like sometimes you may not even get that answer. But honestly, just focus on the traits. Focus on what's making you not happy. If there is any HPD, please manifest. We have a few HPDs that pop in every now and then. Why do MPD parents act all shocked when their adult children go no contact? Because they are shocked. Because it's like, oh, like, cause well, especially if it wasn't like for me, well, because I guess it depends on the situation, but like like what also go, it's like okay, did you communicate why? Because from my perspective, it's like I don't really see how much harm I cause until after I'm out of the situation usually, especially back in the day. And so when somebody cuts me off, I'm like shocked and betrayed. I think I did nothing wrong. I can't even think of something I did wrong because there wasn't malice in my actions. It was more negligence, if anything. Are narcissists more prone to being addicted than other people? Yes. There's like, I think it's like 50% of people with NPD have a comorbid substance abuse issue. Cluster N. Cluster normal, Christine. Do you get nervous a lot, or just covert to get nervous? Well, yeah, I get nervous a lot, but it's more when I'm like in a like I have a lot of like social anxiety and stuff like that. I'm worried about how I'm going to come off all the time, but I'm really good at hiding it. Really interesting study actually showed that like when it comes to shame responses, and this isn't the same as anxiety, but I think this kind of illustrates my point of being able to hide it when you're a narcissist. Is that people with NPD, and they compare people with normal people with NPD, and people with BPD, and their reactions towards shame. Right? And they measured their shame reactions, and there's two types, like the explicit shame reactions, which were like the obvious ones that that like can more or less be controlled, if that makes sense, and the implicit ones, the very subconscious ones that you can't that like you don't control, like physical reactions. And it showed that people with BPD, they had higher explicit shame reactions, but people with NPD had higher implicit shame reactions. Like our unconscious reactions were stronger. I think that just shows is that like we're always trying to pretend like we don't care. Like we don't care about shame. We don't care that you're doing anything because it makes us look pathetic if we were doing it, if we were reacting to whatever you did. And I think that's kind of where the anxiety part of it comes in. I think people who are more on the vulnerable presenting side have a harder time maintaining like the stone cold persona. Thank you, Grandpa. Grandpa old. I was wondering, actions like silent treatment are done specifically to manipulate, or where is it what it does to the other person? I think there's a lot. Well, it depends. Yeah, I'm for real vaping. God, I'm a nicotine addict. What can I say? What I was saying. So yeah, it depends. There have been times I've done the silent treatment because I feel wronged, and I'm like, oh well, like I know this would fuck with me. I'm not going to talk to them until they like apologize to me. I did nothing wrong. They should be begging for my forgiveness. And then there's times that like I'll actually give somebody the silent treatment, quote unquote, not on purpose, but like if I'm too vulnerable with somebody, I'll like hide. I'll be like, I won't be able to talk to them because I'm so humiliated by being vulnerable. So it depends on the events leading up to that. I know some people pretend to care about mental illness. Yeah, right. They'll post on Instagram about how we need to spread mental health awareness, and then like, but they're confronted with any actual mental health struggle in somebody, and they're like, peace out. Not to say that anybody has an obligation to help somebody who is mentally ill, right? It just shows some hypocrisy in the way that they talk, especially when they're like, oh, we need to support those with mental health issues. Me shows mental health symptoms, like, oh, fuck you. Is it weird that I love being called arrogant, cocky, etc.? Like, okay, but same. I don't know why that is. Like, it's weirdly validating when people say that. I feel it's like because I feel so insecure and shitty that if I'm coming off like I'm not like that, it's validating. Ideal, has she given you reason? Has she given you reason to think that you might be in danger? Because that's very like. Because here's the thing: most narcissists aren't going to do like violence, right? Maybe a higher proportion than the normal people would, but like most won't. It's just not. It's just not in the wheelhouse 90% of the time. So I think you're a better judge of that than me. What's her pattern been like? Has she shown herself capable of engaging in violence or anything that would like interfere with your livelihood? Thank you, Crowns. So love isn't different from infatuation. Apparently, listen, I don't know. That's what I hear at the very least. I feel like it's important for people to understand what's going on from an experiencer instead of villainizing or running away from people living with it. Agreed. Yes, 100%. So, and like, I don't blame, okay, I don't blame people for running away from it, right? If somebody's mental health issues are too intense for you to be able to handle, you need to look out for yourself first. You need to be able to put your distance between that person so you can actually, like, so you can like work on yourself if necessary. Nobody has any obligation to be friends with me and support me through a lot of the struggles that I go through. But there's a big difference between getting away from that person, putting healthy boundaries and distance because that's what you need, and then going on to villainize the disorder. You know what I mean? And I feel like, in my personal experience at least, it helps more to be able to understand what that person's going through rather than villainize them for going through it. Like my sister, BPD, with a conduct disorder that probably turned into ASD. It helps me a lot more knowing what she's going through, knowing that she's like somebody that's like constantly and consistently struggling, rather than being like, oh, this is a monster that I hate. Fuck her. Have you ever intentionally pushed the loved one away because they call into your narcissistic traits? No. I mean, people don't really catch on my narcissistic traits until I'm like, until I tell them. I mean, and it's not like, I mean, they, to some degree, they're probably aware of those things. They just haven't labeled them as narcissistic. What's more likely to happen is that a loved one will push me away because then they assume everything I do is fucking manipulative if they think I'm a narcissist. He teases me about hooking up with other people even though I never did. I was always confused and repeats those kind of jokes. To me, that sounds like. So I'm not a jealous person. So I'd probably. Well, I guess okay. If I was making those jokes, that'd probably be for the intention of sussing out whether or not you actually did it or not. And feeling insecure about the idea of you doing it or not. But it depends on a lot of factors on that. Because I can also see myself making a joke like that, like in general, but like I would say 75% chance it's for the purpose of sussing out a situation. Can you distinguish in your experience between your callous, indifferent side and the watching narrator that's not indifferent as neutrally just watching? Do you mean like I'm if I'm catching your drift? Do you mean like the emotional versus rational brain? Because like there's like I swear to God, there's like two internal monologues going on at any given time for me. It's my knee-jerk, arrogant, how dare they kind of reaction to them. That okay, well this is probably what they were actually thinking, and this is how I'm expected to react. Blah 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 blah. Like I do believe the emotional side more, but the rational side is the one I know that I have to kind of abide to function in society. Wait, this is interesting. As cover, I'm 100% certain someone that pushes away people because of this factor. Oh, I see. I don't want anyone to deal with the burden of what is me. See, I fell into shame spirals like that where I'm like, oh my god, I'm fucking a terrible person. I'm a monster. Like, nobody should ever be around me and stuff like that. Particularly with, like, intimate partners, right? I've never, like, committed to it, though. You know what I mean? But I sympathize with the sentiment at the very least. What do you think about new BS who wish rape on you after a small dispute, then say that they were joking? I think they're probably pieces of shit. I mean, like, that goes beyond my like. Here's the thing. I wish terrible things on people in my head. If somebody does the smallest wrong thing against me, I'm like, I fucking hate that person. But I can very easily come back from that. Like if I feel like they have like bent the knee, so to speak. But if somebody is willing to wish rape on you, and then not even, and then just kind of say they were joking, because that's such like so fucked up. Like that's just like, and that's like a blatant lie. That's a gaslight. I've ever heard it. All right, one second. I can use the bathroom. So here's another thing that's kind of dark. That like, cause I was thinking about like, oh, wishing rape on somebody, and like, I don't think I've. How do I put this? Like, I don't really. Wishing death upon somebody doesn't even feel like a major thing. Does that make sense? Like it's like I have wished death on people for very minor. I have laughed at people going through like tragedies because I felt like that they wronged me, and like it's fucked up. And like, would I actually, if I had the, but that's a question. If I had the option, see, I don't know if I would be capable of personally. Well, not like if it was up to me whether that person went through the tragedy or not. I think it'd be a toss up if I would or not. It would have to depend how emotional I was in the moment. So I want to think about more. Me and Tess have been talking about that recently. How'd you react when you first got diagnosed with NPD? How did you feel about getting his diagnosis? So April, I didn't give a fuck. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like I always knew I was wired wrong. It wasn't a surprise. And like it's always kind of in the back of my mind I might be a narcissist. And then like and also afterwards I started being kind of proud of it. I was like, yeah, I'm a master manipulator. I'm cool as hell. I never really had a strong reaction. Would you agree that one indicator that tells the difference between NPD and ASPD is duration and frequency of relationships? I think ASPD usually have multiple short-term relationships, like 3 months. Rocky, I honestly think that's a really good like observation, because I think well that's the thing is that like narcissists, yes, we are fucking impulsive, but like ASPD is like another level of it. So very slight things can tip them off. And it's really funny. I remember seeing this like post in a ASPD subreddit, and this girl with BPD was like basically being like, "Hey, I'm friends with the guy with ASPD, and he is insane compared to me." Because apparently she like didn't reply to him for like an hour, and like he like started spamming her and stuff, like things that you would more associate with borderline a lot of the times. But I think that's very indicative of the kind of minds. That's the thing. These people like have no impulse control whatsoever. Like, and hearing my buddy who has ASPD talk, he's like he gets very very attached to people still, and but then will freak out on and split on them so easily, like way easier than just a normal person with borderline, right? Like it feels like they don't have quite as strong like the idealization isn't as stable. It feels like the borderline can like flip back and forth and split, right? But like there's not really an idealization. There's just I really want this person, and then I hate them, etc., etc. Hi Judy, thank you. I don't think I'm going to take you guys into the restroom. Okay, the message faded. I'm going to get to that soon. I can't tell. I don't tell anybody that I love them. Especially not publicly. God. Idyllic and Judy are being unhinged. This is not okay. Cigarettes are better for you. Hey, there's not enough research about that yet. What flavor vape? I only vape menthol because I am a piece of shit. How do people with MBD view social hierarchies? Do they hear less or more? Like, way more. Everything's a hierarchy to me. Everything. There's always an objective better or worse. There's never such thing as an equal. So I'm very sensitive to social hierarchies too. Whenever I'm in a situation, I'm always analyzing for the most like socially dominant person there, the most charismatic or the most connected, and that's the person I try to align myself with. I mean, there's never even a question about it. I mean, usually it's me, but Thoughts on Negan from The Walking Dead? Definitely MPD material. I wouldn't even call him. I wouldn't call him MPD. I don't see much MPD in him. I see lack of it. Like, because, okay, like, let's just go over the diagnostic criteria. Grandiose sense of self-importance. Maybe, I guess, because he had that whole, like, I help people thing. So maybe. Like, I'd say that's like a 0.5. Entitlement. See, but you also have to consider, I would say if he was in, like, this society and he was doing that shit, oh, fuck yeah. But you also have to consider what's normal for the culture, right? The culture there is kill or be killed, more or less. So I wouldn't say that he fits the criteria for entitlement. Let's see, what else? Envy. I didn't really see any real envy in him. Lack of empathy. Okay, that one's obvious. Interpersonal exploitation, sure. Then there's arrogance or haughty behaviors. I'll give him that one. So that's like, what, 3, 4? What are the other ones? I don't even know how many I went over already. So yeah, sure, I would say he has narcissistic traits. I would say saying that he's pathologically narcissistic, though, I'd say it's a long shot. I think he's just a fucking dude who, I think he's just a dude who is in a post-apocalyptic situation and had made some huge moral compromises to what he viewed as, like, the greater good, so to speak. Especially, and you have to understand, too, if he turned like that, like, how was he before the apocalypse happened? If he was only like that after the apocalypse, then he can't have personality disorder because these behaviors have to be consistent through, like, his whole life. Negan from The Walking Dead. To revenge my ex in a big way, expose him and his lies to his other sources apply. He's embarrassed and make it clear from him for coming back. I mean, I wouldn't. Fuck, I'd be fucking pissed at you. Yeah, I'd never talk to you again. Why do people only care if he put his hands on me? I'd rather be punched in the face than have to hear the things out come out of the mouth and walking in shows for after a year. Physical more skill fast shouldn't be the question. Because people don't have a very good grasp on what, like, abuse is and the psychological effects that abuse can have on somebody when it's not physical. Like, I feel like they have very limited, like, because, like, everyone gets into fights, right? So, like, I feel like a lot of people kind of project their own experiences with being in fights on the person in question. So it's like you tell, oh, he's, like, verbally abusive to me. And, like, if I'm somebody who has never been through that, I'm thinking, oh, we got into a fight and he called me a bitch or whatever. So they don't understand the extent of an impact that can have on you and thus dismiss it. And then with physical stuff, that's such, like, a cultural big no-no that nobody can, like, deny how impactful that is. And I feel like that's a big issue with being able to, I feel like that is a big issue with how we do view a lot of traumatic events nowadays, especially with, like, some of the older generations, is that we don't take abuse seriously unless it does get to the point of physicality. Which obviously there's trauma that happens way outside just that one narrow range of abuse. Hin said, it's your birthday today? Happy birthday. Thank you. Technically my birthday's in 2 days, but I'm celebrating it now. I think he was proud of himself for never hitting me, but refused to believe he's still an abuser. I think it says a lot that he was proud of himself for not hitting you. I think that says a lot about where his morality, like who's proud of themselves? That's like, man, I'm so proud of myself. I didn't murder that person. Like, that's insane. No, you shouldn't be proud of what's, like, expected of you. What makes a decent person. Nicole spraying room. See, Nicole, if you keep saying that, I'm going to keep telling people that you have HPD. Do you know if there's any correlation between NPD/ASPD and asexuality? I noticed lately as many NPDs, including me, are asexual. I'm wondering where that came from. I don't know if you'll like the answer to this, my dude. So I'm trying to go. I don't know about ASPD, but I've done a lot of research about NPD, obviously. And like, I'll speak anecdotally first of all. That a lot of people with NPD, I do see kind of fit into either devaluing intimacy as a form of self-esteem regulation, or avoid sex altogether. Like Tess is one that avoids sex altogether. I'm one that kind of reduced it in meaning to that. I think a big reason for that, though, is one of the most common types of abuse that does cause NPD is sexual abuse, which makes sense, right? Internalized shame over something like that and how that can lead to something like NPD, that the core of it is internalized shame. But I feel like that may be a huge factor of like why there's a pattern there for a lot of people. Cooley gives me things. Cool. Do you think you're able to have a trustful, intimate, loving, long-term relationship? And if yes, what conditions? That's still something I'm asking myself. I don't know. It's like maybe. Every time I feel like I'm at a point that I can, I prove myself wrong. So it's hard to say. Nicole, I'm intrigued about the memes. Manipulation seems a bad thing, and there's very different types of manipulation. However, you manipulate for good. It's Machiavelli and chaotic good. Yeah, see, and like, that's how I've always felt. And it kind of baffled me that I was never able to get this across to some people. It's like, yeah, so what if I'm like, manipulation for manipulation's sake, in my opinion, doesn't have to be bad. To me, everything's manipulation, right? We just have different words for it. Like, anything that anybody does has some kind of goal to it, if you break it down far enough. Why do we just like have this blanket term for having a purposeful interactions and say, well, this is bad? But apparently that's not true. All right, and I will head off here soon. Well, are you a surgeon? Me? Rocky, the only way I've ever been able to quit is cold turkey. And and it's like hell for like a month or so, but then after that, like, I never had any, well, okay, I say that while fucking vaping, but that's the thing. What happens is that I will quit smoking, I'll go to a party, and someone will be like, hey, want to hit this? And I'm like, oh man, I'm drunk, a cigarette sounds good. Hey, birthday fellow Gemini with NPD. What's up, Keith Stress? Thank you. The borderlines have taken over the chat. They always take over the chat. Attractive might be too young for me. Do you consider yourself more grandiose or covert? Well, so I'm going to, I'll very briefly go over what those terms mean and kind of differences. So basically, okay, so there's grandiose narcissism and vulnerable narcissism. Grandiose narcissism is kind of what you associate with narcissism. Grandiosity, grandiosity, like lack of remorse, lack of empathy, interpersonal exploitation, whatever. Vulnerable narcissism is more that neurotic kind of side of it. That's more introverted. and neurotic. They're very angry, very brooding, has more of a woe is me attitude as people. I don't think it's quite a woe is me attitude. That's complicated though. And then there's covert and overt. Overt means that you're showing some of these symptoms overtly. Covert means that you're showing them covertly. So like basically, if I am overtly grandiose, then I am showing grandiose symptoms openly. If I'm overtly vulnerable, I'm showing those openly, and vice versa for covert. So keeping that in mind, I would say that I present more with grandiosity. But then again, I feel like I am more covert about most of my symptoms than most people. Are there any movies that you know of that depict MPD in a correct light? Not that I can think of, off the top of my head at least. I don't watch that many movies though. I would say if you're looking for books, like any fucking Dostoevsky book is going to have like one narcissist in it. I swear to God, and that's like one of the only ones that get them right. A lot of people say Walter White from Breaking Bad is really good in terms of depicting NPD in somebody, which I'm not sure if I would go pathological narcissist, but I would say close. I would say close. Trying to think of anybody. I mean, there's a few other TV shows. Perry Cox from Scrubs. I love that character because I'm like, that dude's a fucking pathological narcissist, and he's like not likable, but I would say he's likable, even though he's an ass. What are you doing for your birthday? I'm going to Washington D.C., which will be fun. How'd you start recovering from MPD? I'm taking an assessment on Wednesday for it myself and also schizoaffective. I am sorry. I always struggle giving advice for recovering from MPD because I don't feel like I'm that far along myself. I would say the main thing is learn it. I would say find one person that you trust beyond anything that you can be vulnerable with. Talk about your mental health experiences and the things that you're insecure about with. Vulnerability is important. And it's really hard, especially with how this disorder is viewed, right? You tell somebody you're a narcissist, all of a sudden they think everything that you do is manipulation. Sucks. But I would say that that kind of vulnerability, but then also that person can help you in so many ways because I've always had somebody that was kind of my confidant, I would say, that would help me self-reflect. I'd be like, why did I do that? Is this a right thing for me to do, et cetera, et cetera. And I had a lot of respect for this person because I viewed them in a parallel hierarchy. And even before I was diagnosed, that helped me avoid a lot of really bad situations because they were able to basically show me no, it's not a good thing to do. I don't know for sure, but I imagine Alpha of The Walking Dead would be closer to NPD. Unfortunately, fortunately, I haven't watched enough of The Walking Dead. I stopped right when Alpha was introduced. They kill they killed off the one kid that I really liked, and then after that I was like, there's nobody left there. And who was it? I don't remember his name. He was a blonde kid, I think. He was the main character for 2 seconds. My email is the namelessnarcissist@gmail.com. No spaces or anything. What's your favorite football/soccer team? Don't say soccer, it's football. If you say soccer, I actually do say, okay, I'm an American, so if I'm talking to, it gets really complicated because I have to deal with people talking about American football a lot. So I always have to specify when I say football, I mean this kind of football. But I do use football when in reference to European football. But I think my answer might piss you off a little bit more. I don't like sports like at all. I will watch them purely to socialize with people or as an excuse to drink. I would go hang out with my friends while they watch football, and I would like sit on my computer like writing emails or some shit while like fucking around with them. PDs can't help fawning over NPD criteria, men or women. That's hilarious. Would you consider yourself aromantic? No, I wouldn't. Would I consider myself aromantic? No, I wouldn't, because I have my like fantasies of ideal love, right? I'm always thinking, oh my god, my soulmate's out there and stuff like that. Idea something about fantasies of success, ideal love, and power being a symptom of MPD. How these fantasies affect your life? It's interesting actually, and I think this is a symptom criteria that's actually like really overlooked. It's it's maladaptive daydreaming. So for example, I start a new hobby, right? And I'm sitting here thinking I'm gonna be the best at it. I will literally neglect practicing that hobby because I'm fantasizing about how powerful with them will be, how I'm already better than everybody, about me bragging to everybody about it. It literally impairs my ability to actually perform because I become so obsessed with the fantasies themselves. When it comes to fantasies of ideal love, that can kind of result in some obsessive behaviors, and I would say it's not quite as like damaging. But like I remember like I was learning to code, and I literally remember stopping and pacing around my room imagining how I'm going to make like the next AI or some shit. And it's about like everything too. Like if I'm driving to a party, I'm having a grandiose fantasy about how I'm the most popular person there and all the women will want me. Can narcissistic internal negative dialogue be confused with schizotype hallucinations? I never would. Right. I feel it's more likely to be confused with like the OCD intrusive thoughts. But like, if you're an untrained person, or if you really know really little about those two things, and even being a clinician, I can see that happening. But like, because the schizotype hallucinations are probably going to be more violent too, and they're going to be like a literal voice. Having like self-deprecating thoughts and having thoughts that are aimed at you that are actually hallucinations, very different. But now that you're saying it, also thank you for the early birthday. Oh, but now that you're saying it, now I'm like, fuck. How would I ask somebody to distinguish those two things? I feel like I could tell them. Yeah, I remember seeing in Scrubs where somebody asked Dr. Cox why he keeps in shape, and his answer was, "I look in the mirror and never." Yeah, like he literally said, like, oh, Dr. Cox is literally a perfect example of like, I would say Dr. Cox is a archetypal example of a grandiose narcissist who's and like a realistic one, not like I'm going to go and kill your dog kind of thing that you hear about, right? Like I would say really good example. Yeah, I remember him talk like I think it was in that scene too, or like something like that. And he's like, "How you get in shape is you have to look at your body and see you. I hate everything about that, and I want to punish it and change it." And I'm like, "Damn, relatable, my dude." And then it goes into his internal monologue at one time, and you see him like struggling with himself to like try to show affection towards or like appreciation towards JD, and he just can't bring himself to do it. And like the only affection JD gets from the entire series is at the very end when he tricks him into getting angry at somebody for tricks him into getting angry at somebody for like insulting JD behind his back. And I think that was honestly such a beautiful. And then like he realizes that JD actually hurt him. It was a whole thing. But I think it was like a beautiful way to kind of show what like I would say like your very average grandiose narcissist would look like, who's not really malignant or has any comorbidities. Grandiose presenting. Have you ever considered alternative medicine? Not really. UC is awesome. Greetings for PA. I agree. The map behind me, well, the part that you see is of the Balkans. It's actually a map of Austria-Hungary. Mark said to me, "You are dead to me. She has not spoken to me in 3 years. I have a smear campaign against me. What does those words mean? Does it mean she has feelings for me? I don't know if it means that she has feelings for you, but it means that she's still hurt by you. And there might be some inherent defense against feelings for you there in terms of trying to devalue it like that. But it's impossible to really say for sure what's really going on inside their head. For me personally, I did a similar thing once, and I did still have feelings for that person, but I was still very hurt by that person, still very angry about it. I would say all you can say for certain is that you're still affecting her. Sports ball. I got like really like I have so there's a frequent viewer that I have who she's European and she called American football, and I was like, what the fuck? What is wrong with you? And then fantasizing you pace around and find yourself talking to others like the other person was there. Yeah, a lot of the times. Like very, very frequently, honestly. Trevor. Like I like that happens it can be more abstract than that. I can imagine myself like in a group setting or like I don't know on a stage, but like oftentimes it's me pacing around, being just thinking about like what I would say to this person. Like sometimes it's a fantasy about like kind of like being angry, and sometimes it's fantasies about just being a braggart, whatever. It's hilarious. What if the narc is using schizoaffective as an excuse to deny they're actually a narc? If they got schizo, I mean, what do you mean? If they got schizoaffective, then I mean, like, the least of your troubles are the narcissism, probably. I can't imagine a narcissist who isn't, like, working on their narcissism being that, like, aware of their issues to be able to calculatedly avoid those accusations is the thing. What separates the delusion of grandeur from delusion someone experiences from delusional disorder? There's like a little bit more, because it's not like when I have my delusions of grandeur and thinking I'm better than everybody, it's not like, okay, I think this is a big difference, is that if I'll have my delusion of grandeur, I'll hit one setback in my life and it all falls apart, and I think I'm the worst thing in the world. However, somebody who's actually has an actual who's actually delusional, that won't set them back. They will still be convinced of it. Like this happens a lot in manic episodes in bipolar, right? So it's basically, I think it's just the fragileness of it, and that deep down somewhere we do know it's not true, but we're afraid of that and constantly trying to defend against it. That's kind of how I would distinguish them, at least. Who knows? Also, thank you, Lady Campton. Ugh, fuck. Where are most of your followers from? Does YouTube or other socials show you that? Like, on YouTube, it's like 50% America, 50% Europe, more or less. Or 50% everywhere else. I watched your interview with the inner psychopath earlier yesterday. I'm glad. I thought he was a really interesting guy to talk to. Because for a while I was like talking to I was on this Discord server, and I was talking to a bunch of people with ASPD. Most of them were sociopaths, but I was the only like factor one there. It's interesting. Our daughter stole over 50 grand of our retirement money, which is all we had. Have you gone to the police? I'm like thinking more about like when I pace around like that in my grandiose and just like it happens in the shower a lot too. Is actually, I feel like that's probably where it happens the most. Where I'm like imagining certain scenarios and how like great I'm going to be and stuff like that. I like do like hand motions. Imagining like confronting like a long lost like old friend groups who have tossed me aside and telling me they're all the pieces of shit. I did nothing wrong. or like getting like really angry at people I know in real life and be really paranoid about it. Like I'm convinced that they're going to like stab me in the back, and like I'm like pacing around the damn room, like rehearsing like this like monologue of saying what piece of shit's friend they are. And he goes, "Boy's going off himself." Yeah, probably. Except that none of my relatives have ever gone bald, so. Do you really deal with dissociation? Like, I'm not here, I'm there. Like, I would say, I'm not sure if I would call it dissociation, but it's like the emotions are like so just like intense in the moment, right? It's like, I'm not, like, I wouldn't say that, like, and it does take a lot to pull me out of it, actually. Let's see. Can you point me in the direction towards any channels or videos that are true to schizophrenic experience, schizoaffective experience, please? Yes, there's a channel called. So I actually dated somebody with schizoaffective disorder for a while, and there's a really good channel called Living Well with Schizophrenia. That like my ex would watch like all the time because she related to it so much. What should I do? I do have an ideal partner. Somebody identical to me. I don't know. It's weird. Like intelligent. Just like it's very surface level traits when I'm really thinking about it. It's a lot of like, oh, this person is the most attractive. They're the most intelligent. They're the most socially well connected. Last conversation. Oh, wait. Yesterday, I got my MPD partner swings from randomness, vulnerable, massive rage or isolation based on slight discomfort. Yep. I have discomfort 10 years. He tells me his facade is so fragile. Amen. Amen. It will not be like, you can knock that shit down easy. People are like, how do you hurt a narcissist? It's like, say literally anything. Insult their shoes. They'll like be a sobbing mess. Hey, TJ. It's a shame, TJ. I gotta get leave like now. Last conversation I had with my ex, he said he doesn't know why he does the thing he does. That's why I'm so self-aware. Is because like from such an early age, from such an early age, I was always like I was distressed that I didn't know why I did anything. Like and like it was I literally would like ask my friends like why did I do that, and that was like the question I asked myself like every day, and that's why I spent so much time being like, okay, why do I do the things that I do? My exact birthday is on the 13th, and I am going to be 24. I feel a lot of people with MPD probably get misdiagnosed with BP and bipolar, especially with MPD. I agree. Actually, a study showed that the most common two disorders that MPD gets misdiagnosed with is MPD and is bipolar and depression. I would argue the only reason why BP doesn't top that list is because they don't even realize they messed up because BPD and MPD are so similar. Ever had the intrusive fantasy of becoming a president? I won't call it intrusive. And rehearsing your speech. I've had it since I was a child, and I cry from the grandiosity of my speech. Like my speech is so beautiful. I don't know. I've never really cried over like the beauty of my speech, but I've definitely given speech just like that though. Okay, but all right. Yes, I'm very young, TJ. CW, what's up? I have to go now though, but yes, I'll catch you guys later. Thank you all for stopping by. Hopefully, I hope when I come back from DC, I'll be less depressed, so I'm gonna be like less like a mess like I've been. Oh, hate it. Anyways, wait. Also, excuse me. Those 3 things you mentioned are the exact same 3 things the narcissist I know Arlo mentioned. That's hilarious, more. But all right, I'll catch you guys. I'll see you guys in a week.